Saul Kirsch here with Double Alpha Academy, and I'd like to give you some more information about our insert blocks. These insert blocks are the heart of the Alpha X and the Racemaster holster, and it is what makes this holster work as well as it does. The mechanism itself is designed to perfectly fit one particular gun type, and it is important that when you purchase one of these holsters you make sure that you're purchasing the correct insert block for your gun type and model. In some cases, some fitting is required, and we'll get into that a little bit in a separate video. But first, if you take the time to analyze and understand how this insert block functions, how it locks, retains and releases your pistol on the draw, it'll be a lot easier for you should you need to make any fine-tuning or adjustments. The insert blocks are designed to snugly fit to the front end of the trigger guard. They will actually hold the pistol in place by fitting onto this area here of the trigger guard. This front end here is where the gun is retained, and the fit here is very important. With some guns, there's going to be one mold in use. They're going to be very consistent. With other guns, for instance the Glocks, there may be several generations, several different models, and some fitting may be required. This one here is an airsoft Glock, but it too can be used with a Racemaster or an Alpha X insert block. The insert block has a moving part which we call the slide lock. On the slide lock there are two teeth, an upper and a lower tooth, which fit around the trigger guard. The fit between these two teeth and the shape of the contour of the trigger guard is what holds the gun in place. When you draw the gun upwards, this piece, the slide lock, which is seated on a cammed, angled track, gets displaced out to the side. The upper tooth hides itself within the side panel of the insert block, allowing the gun to come free. When you reholster the gun, the bottom front end of the trigger guard pushes on the lower tooth. As it pushes it down, the upper tooth slides in, displacing in from the left, from the inside, and engages inside the trigger guard to retain the gun. The safety lever, which is assembled on the back of the insert block, rotates downwards to lock. And as you can see here, the small little edge of aluminum protrudes inwards and will then prevent the slide lock from moving up high enough to clear the upper tooth out of the trigger guard. Usually there will be a little bit of movement allowed between the head of the slide lock and that safety, but it is not enough to allow the gun to clear the holster. In fact, this locking mechanism is so rigid that the gun cannot be drawn when the holster is locked unless we have a failure of one of the parts actually breaking, which can happen but does require a great deal of force. The safety lever is spring-loaded, and it is positioned in such a way that as you close your fingers around the grip, it's easy to deactivate. However, in most cases, on most stages, there's no need to start with the safety engaged because the gun will be held securely enough for a normal draw, and most shooters will use the safety only during the day between the stages and during their walkthrough. The safety rotates, prevents the top of the slide lock from moving upwards. These insert blocks are what we refer to as the magnetic insert blocks, and they are magnetic because assembled into this body here are two magnets. One is on the slide lock itself and the other is on the wedge, which holds an opposing magnet. These two magnets are positioned to reject each other, which creates two distinctive positions for the slide lock to be in, either pushed all the way up or pushed all the way down. The reason that's there is mostly for the draw. We want to make sure that when you draw the gun up out of the holster, that the slide lock moves up all the way to the top of the track to make sure that when you reholster, that upper tooth is out of the way. The magnets will lift that slide lock further than you will when drawing the gun to ensure that that upper tooth has dislodged as far as it possibly can to ensure it doesn't interfere with reholstering. An added benefit of this mechanism is it does add a clicking sound, which is not always as audible as you can hear it now, because when the insert block is removed from the holster body, it will click a lot louder. The gun itself may prevent the slide lock from reaching the end of the track, which further reduces that click sound. But you do feel the action of the magnets when you holster, and that gives you an affirmative feedback that you've engaged the holster correctly and that the gun is held firmly in place. So the slide lock needs to be in the upward position before you can holster. Should you try to holster a gun with the slide lock down, you will see that it's impossible to seat the gun into place. However, that will never happen during normal use because the slide lock, of course, is in the up position from your previous draw. And then as you seat the gun into place, the gun pushes the slide lock back down, the safety can then rotate into position, and in this case, the gun is firmly locked into place, and I can wiggle this as much as I want. I won't be able to dislodge this gun. So that is how the insert blocks function on the Alpha X and the Racemaster holster. Again, it is important that you select the correct insert block, and in some cases that you undergo some minor fitting to make sure that you have the best performance out of this holster. In a separate video, I will address the fitting process of these insert blocks.